another brand of vaccines for booster doses. And hoop fans are on the edge of their seats. Will the Meralco Bulls live another day to exactly revenge against rival Barangay Ginebra in the PBA Governor's Cup Finals? No face-off among presidential and vice presidential candidates this weekend. The last leg of COMELEC's debates will instead happen next week under the poll body's new private partner. Its previous partner failed to pay 14 million pesos in dues. Our Melissa Lopez has all the details.
COMELEC is forced to reschedule its last debates for presidential and vice presidential candidates after its private partner Vote Pilipinas was unable to pay 14 million pesos for the venue. Instead of April 23 to 24, the vice presidential debate has been pushed back to April 30, while the last presidential debate will be held on May 1st. Poll commissioners apologize to candidates, their campaigns, and to the public for these hitches.
So siyempre, ginawa namin ang lahat ng magagawa namin for the last two days. Baka pwede na lang ituloy ito. But as of last night and as of this morning, unfortunately, ay mukhang wala pang tamang direksyon doon sa pag-aayos.
The kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas has stepped in as COMELEC's new hosts of the Pilipinas Debates 2022. Details are still being ironed out, including the venue.
Humihingi po ako ng suporta sa mga kandidato na kung maaari po ay umattend sa debates na ito na sponsored ng KBP. Iyon lang po ang kanilang kondisyon sa amin.
9 of 10 presidential bets and 7 out of 9 vice presidential candidates took part in previous debates. A March 7 agreement between COMELEC and Impact Hub Manila, the company behind Vote Pilipinas, states that the private firm will fund all expenses for 5 debates, including a 20 million peso bill with Sofitel. Of that amount, Impact Hub has only paid about 6 million pesos. Sofitel was unable to collect payment after several bouncing checks issued by the company. It was supposed to source funds from revenues in television ads during the debates. Earlier this week, a Sofitel representative went to COMELEC to ask for help in collecting from Vote Pilipinas. A demand letter seen by CNN Philippines showed the hotel had set a Thursday deadline to settle the balance, or else it is banning the use of its facilities for the weekend debates. The poll body says it will disclose its next steps towards Vote Pilipinas after a week-long probe. Vote Pilipinas has yet to respond to requests for comment. The next debates will follow a town hall format, where sector representatives and audience members will be allowed to ask questions directly to candidates. Melissa Lopez, CNN Philippines.
In a document obtained by CNN Philippines, a senior poll official suggested that COMELEC sever ties with Impact Hub Manila. The commissioner said the poll body should rescind its contract with the events company. CNN Philippines is seeking Impact Hub's comment on this issue. The Ping Lacson-Tito Soto tandem may skip the rescheduled COMELEC debates. Senators Ping Lacson and Tito Soto explained they already have prior commitments in the coming days as the campaign reaches its final stretch. For Lacson, the past 2 COMELEC debates are already enough.
I've proven myself in the last 2 presidential debates and other forums. So it won't affect me that much.
I cannot just move my schedules and all that, like that madali. Ayaw mo na, total, hindi naman ma-attend yung iba. Ayaw mo na sila. Postpone na lang nila. Huwag tigilan na lang nila. Cancel na lang nila yung, yung debate na yan.
Senator Manny Pacquiao says he's also not sure if he will attend the rescheduled COMELEC debate. In an interview in Leyte earlier today, Pacquiao explained that his campaign schedule is already tight. But if his rival, Bongbong Marcos, who's known to skip debates, will attend for the first time, Pacquiao said he would attend. CNN Philippines also asked other candidates if they will attend the rescheduled debates. They have yet to respond. In other election-related updates, COMELEC's precinct finder is now online. The link is now flashed on your screens, but the website has been slow to load just hours after it was launched because of high traffic. The poll body advises the public to give it a day for the system to adjust. Now, through the website, voters should be able to look up their precinct, whether they are in the country or overseas. COMELEC released a resolution today designating 8 regional hubs that will stand as repair centers for faulty vote counting machines. There will also be 82 replacement hubs as SD cards on voting day, or 4 SD cards on voting day. The hubs will be manned by regional or provincial COMELEC directors, while technical personnel will come from the DOST and the DICT. The release of the resolution comes after the Philippine consulate in New York temporarily halts ballot feeding after a vote counting machine malfunctioned. COMELEC is verifying the incident. Meanwhile, voting remains suspended in the Chinese city of Shanghai despite initial news that COVID-19 lockdowns have been eased. The Commission on Elections has yet to resolve the remaining cases against presidential candidate Bongbong Marcos. The poll body earlier committed to settle 5 appeals at the en banc or full commission in the 3rd week of April.
Walang guarantee ng araw, basta importante. I would like to give this commitment. The COMELEC en banc is trying its best to immediately release and promulgate a resolution in all these cases. ASAP.
Petitioners behind the latest dismissed case against Marcos plan to file an appeal before the en banc on Monday. Former COMELEC Chairman Christian Monsod, who represents the group Udnonga Ilocano, says they were given 5 days to appeal the First Division's move to junk the 7th and final disqualification case against Marcos. The First Division ruled that Marcos did not commit a crime of moral turpitude when he was found guilty for not filing his income tax returns from 1982 to 1985. The Lacson-Soto tandem expressing concern over Smartmatic's supposed move to change the internet speed for transmitting election results. Tito Soto says an IT expert in the Senate told him Smartmatic will use 4G network instead of 3G.
We can have the IP address. We don't know where the VCM is coming from. Bilang sa sinasabi ngayon ng aming IT expert, hindi traceable eh. Once lumipat ng 3G to 4G, which they are doing now.
Masama rito, hindi na masagot at magre-refer pa sa DICT. Sa amin, walang problema. Siguro kung ginawa nila 6 months ago to, nasagutan nila yung mga tanong ngayon. Eh, apurahan na, matter of how many days, 70 days nga before election day.
Soto plans to ask Senator Amy Marcos, who chairs the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms, to conduct a hearing on the matter. And Labor leader Leody de Guzman marked Earth Day today by joining a protest in Manila. Climate change groups and activists called out the government for its supposed lack of action and big businesses for worsening the global crisis. Well, yet Leody de Guzman reiterating the rights of indigenous peoples in their ancestral lands following the shooting in Bukidnon on Tuesday. The Labor leader says companies with expired lease agreements on disputed areas should recognize ancestral rights of indigenous peoples.
Ang importante, ma-turn over na yung lupa na ninuno sa kanila. Yun ang importante kasi pag hindi nangyari, naibalik sa kanila yan, matutuloy ang paglaban nila at matutuloy ang kahalasan, baka may mga insidente pang mangyari sa hinaharap. Nagkasundo na kami nung katutubo na mag-file ng kaso at nasa process na ng pag-file ng kaso. Pangalawa, kausap ko si Brigadier General Acorda, ng Regional Director ng Region 10. At sabi niya pa nga po niya sa akin kahapon, iimbestigahan niya yung mga pangyayari.
A new video sheds more light on the Bukidnon shooting. One of the members of the Manobo Pulangihon tribe shared with CNN Philippines a cell phone video documenting their visit to the disputed ancestral land and the firing of gunshots. Becca, which is not her real name, says it was her first time to visit the area in Quezon Town since most of the Manobo families live outside their ancestral lands. She adds they entered the area with a white flag to represent their peaceful intentions, while some tribe members bringing legal documents, in case they are questioned. The shooting in Bukidnon during a meeting of the Manobo tribe puts the struggles of indigenous peoples front and center. For years, these tribal communities have faced violence and intimidation for promoting and protecting their decades-old rights. Our George Gilas takes us to Agusan del Sur, where ethnic minorities cannot claim what is theirs.
President Duterte has recently awarded over 38,000 hectares of land as ancestral domain to the Banwaons of San Luis Agusan del Sur. This means the indigenous people have the right to own and cultivate this land. But the traditional leader in the area says, while the tribe has a rightful claim over the land, they cannot move around freely. Dato Matibulig claims locals are being harassed and intimidated by a group of armed men.
Malaking bagay sana doon sa amin kasi wala na totaling NPA. Pero ang problema, hindi nakakabalik doon sa kanilang lupain ang mga IP dahil pinagbabawalan. Sinusolo nila at ginagamit ang dahas.
Dato Matibulig says the armed men in the area are engaged in illegal logging. He claims a Banwaon farmer was killed last February and more are threatened to be killed. There's no report of this incident to the local police.
Ngayon, ang nakakabahala nito, lahat ng mga taga-barangay Mahagsay, halos 80 to 90% ang mga tao ron, lumikas na. So, nandun na sa iba't ibang barangay dahil natatakot sa naturang banta.
The Commission on Human Rights says indigenous people are really vulnerable to aggressions despite laws that are meant to protect them. Even the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples admits there are cases of undocumented harassments and intimidation to indigenous communities. CNN Philippines tried to reach the local government of San Luis Agusan del Sur, but we have yet to get a response.
People take advantage of their vulnerabilities, no? And one of the issues that confront them talaga is the land grabbing. Unfortunately, because of developmental aggression,
marami din po talagang undocumented na nangyayaring ganito kasi ang kaugalian ng mga IT communities ko minsan, they are resilient. Hindi nila talaga nire-report ko at kung talagang mangyayari na meron ng ganito tulad ng shooting na ganito, is talagang matagal na kasi, like 10 years, 20 years na ganyan ang sitwasyon.
Dato Matibulig is asking for government's help regarding this problem. He says they only want for the tribe members to return to their ancestral land without fear and prior restraint. George Gilas, CNN Philippines.
Straight ahead on Newsnight, is it time to allow more travelers in Boracay? Environment officials are reviewing the tourist cap in the world-class island. And some good news for fans of K-pop sensation 17. Details after the break.
SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement. Gama sa Davao, para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement. Ato ni Bay.
All the trip was really nice. My first time in the Philippines, I'm really enjoying it. The trip in was very smooth. Airport was amazing, and they gave me a nice little what was it? A sash. Felt like a celebrity here in the Philippines.
Pretty smooth. Hopefully now every other trip I make will be even better.
The World Travel and Tourism Council groups the world's largest hotels, airlines, airports, cruise ships, and tour operators. The Council expects the industry to return to pre-pandemic levels by 2023, sustaining a rebound that began last year. And with it, the return of 126 million jobs, with the Asia-Pacific region getting the largest share.
77 million, just over 60%, are going to be in Asia-Pacific, which is incredible. And we forecast that travel and tourism's contribution to the economy will grow at an average annual rate of 8.5%. So that's obviously higher than it is globally.
The way forward is to make international travel seamless. Council leaders are talking Asia-Pacific ministers into it, a global health passport that's simple, digital, and recognized across borders. The European Union has it, but Asia still is a work in progress.
If you travel to Thailand, the system is different from the Philippines, which is different from Cambodia. So they are actually, within Asia-Pac, looking at trying to coordinate at a ministerial level, and we will call on the US to please relax all remaining restrictions. Australia has a system, the US has a system, and India has a system. Those are the really big, and China.
We start first with the ASEAN, maybe Southeast Asia smaller, to see how we can all unify our health protocols. But actually, more importantly, is to
sun out.
The hardest part is going to be convincing different governments. It would be nice to be able to use your phone to just show the same form.
Industry data show there were about 3.9 billion people hunkered down at home during the great lockdown. So there's pent-up demand. The industry wants to prepare the red carpet for them and less red tape. Lois Calderon, CNN, Philippines.
SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement. Gama sa Davao, para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement. Ato ni Bay. SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement. Gama sa Davao, para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement. Ato ni Bay.
Welcome back to Newsnight. It looks like a rough road ahead for MMDA's window hour scheme as transport regulators issue a show-cause order against 6 bus firms. The LTFRB ordered Victory Liner, Bataan Transit, 5-Star, First North Luzon Transit, Maria de Leon, and Genesis to explain after a number of passengers were stranded. The board blamed the bus operators for failing to deploy enough buses to Metro Manila despite allowing them to operate from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. Officials earlier stressed operating within the window hour is allowed unless if they use their private terminals along EDSA, which is prohibited under the law. Well, how is the riding public coping with the struggles of commuting in and out of Metro Manila? Let's head on to a major bus terminal in Bocaue, Bulacan. Our Tristan Nadalo joins us live there. Tristan, what do commuters say?
Yeah, it's inconvenient, impractical, and risky. That's how some commuters describe the implementation of the window hour scheme on provincial buses, pushing some bus companies to schedule trips at night. The LTFRB and the MMDA are standing firm on the policy, while provincial bus operators are appealing to scrap the new rule. Now caught in the middle of this experimental policy, the riding public. Stranded in different bus terminals in Metro Manila, many passengers endure long hours of waiting to board a bus back to their provinces. Bus operators expect an influx of travelers this weekend amid their limited operations.
Ay iba, nagsasakay na sa ibang sasakyan eh. Kung malit ang pera mo, hindi ka makakasakay.
Nabigla ako ngayon. Hanggang 5:30 ang biyahe from Cubao to Tayug.
Ngayon, nag-iba pala. So, sorry na lang ako.
Hindi po siya convenient, unlike dati, na tuloy-tuloy. Ngayon po kasi parang ang nangyayari, parang pipila tapos maghihintay ng ilang oras bago makasakay.
The current policy prohibits provincial buses from using their private terminals from 10 in the evening to 5 in the morning. But the LTFRB clarifies this does not mean buses can only schedule trips at night. Buses with special permit given by the LTFRB can still continue to operate beyond window hours, but they have to drop their passengers in specific integrated terminals where city buses can ferry their passengers. These terminals are the North Luzon Express Terminal or NLET in Bukawi, Bulacan, and the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange or PITX. But not all provincial buses have this special permit.
Humingi kami ng paumanhin dahil marami naapektuhan. Mas maganda sana kung wala nang window hours, payagan na kami makabiyahe kasi ang Tegal 1 naman, pinapayagan na ng IATF.
Following confusion on the implementation of the window hour scheme, the MMDA is bent on implementing the policy to continue what it calls the experiment. The agency adds there are no talks yet whether there is a need to adjust the window hours for provincial buses.
Really, the LTFRB wants to experiment on the 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. area first and see how it develops. But however, it doesn't mean that changes will not be made anytime if found necessary.
The LTFRB points the blame on bus operators for misinterpreting the policy. It says there's no justification of adding burden to the commuting public.
Iniipit lang naman talaga ng mga provincial bus operators, ang government regulators. They have made thousands of passengers suffer. We will hold them accountable.
A lawmaker slams the bus policy, saying this could potentially increase the risk of a COVID-19 surge. Senior Citizen Party List Representative Ompong Ordanes adds the provincial bus policy shows a lack of compassion to travelers. Here, we're currently here at the North Luzon Express Terminal or NLET in Bukawi, Bulacan. So far, we've seen fewer buses and passengers arriving here, unlike what we've seen in Metro Manila bus terminals, which are filled with passengers wanting to go back to their home provinces. Back to you, Pia.
Tristan, what are the alternatives for commuters since the government has yet to lift this window hour scheme?
Some commuters are availing the offers of colorum vans and vehicles. Others are looking for carpool services online, but we have to remember that these are more expensive compared to regular bus fares. Plus, there's also this issue of commuters or commuter safety when they avail these services. Back to you, Pia.
Tristan Nadalo there joining us live from Bulacan. The government will begin administering second COVID-19 booster shots nationwide on April 25th, but only for adults with existing illnesses. Health Secretary Francisco Duque says he only approved giving the second booster shots to patients with cancer, HIV/AIDS, and immunodeficiency, those who underwent organ transplants and are undergoing chronic dialysis and the like for now. They can receive their second booster as early as 3 months after their first booster shot.
Ito yung nililimitahan muna natin para doon sa mga individual na immunocompromised. Lalabas ito lahat sa atin implementing guidelines na binubuo na ngayon sa kasalukuyan para next week mag-roll out na natin ito.
Duque says the Health Technology Assessment Council will still review guidelines for the second booster shots of senior citizens and the healthcare workers. Health spokesperson Maria Rosario Vergere notes 95% of medical frontliners have received their primary dose, but only 49% got booster shots. The Food and Drug Administration has approved the use of the single-shot Janssen vaccine as a booster dose for adults. The Janssen vaccine can be used for those who receive Janssen as their primary series or 2 doses of AstraZeneca, Moderna, Pfizer, Sinopharm, Sinovac, and Gamaleya's Sputnik Light. More stories ahead on Newsnight. Trending online, K-pop Group 17 announces the release date of its 4th studio album. And after Game 6's postponement on Wednesday, Ginebra and Davao are back. The PBA finals find out who's getting closer to the Governor's Cup title when we return.
SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement. Gama sa Davao, para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement. Ato ni Bay.
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. Good news for fans of K-pop sensation 17. The boy group's fourth studio album is coming very soon. Face the Sun arrives May 27th. This will include 17's first English single, Darling. The music video that dropped last week has reached the group's lucky number in views, now at over 17 million. Heading over to the PBA, it's either the Jin Kings win the Governor's Cup title tonight or Meralco Forces Game 7 on Sunday at the Philippine Arena in Bulacan. Game 6 is underway, but if Meralco keeps its current lead in the first quarter, 15-12, Meralco, the Bolts, still have a shot at bagging its first PBA title. Head on over to our social media platforms for updates on the results. And before we go, today marks the 51st anniversary of Earth Day. This began in 1970 because of growing concerns over air pollution from leaded gas. And it's become the largest observance in the world, celebrated in nearly 200 countries. Today you can honor our big green planet in your own way, whether it be through simple gardening or recycling. Happy Earth Day to everyone. And that is it for tonight. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
This program is brought to you by
Many of us feel more confident when our hair is shiny and radiant. After all, our hair is our crowning glory. Even though our skin is our largest part of the organ, many of us take for granted our hair and our nails. But it can indicate a lot of potential problems or diseases that we may have. On the program today, we'll talk more about the signs your hair and nails may be revealing and the ways to keep them healthy and glowing. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and welcome to MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. From falling hair to brittle nails, it's vital to know what these body parts are telling you in order to address the underlying problems. Let's welcome our guests for today. With us is Dr. Claudine Yap Silva. She's the head of Dermatopathology Unit at the Medical City and the chair of the Philippine Dermatological Society Hair and Nails Subspecialty Core Group. Also with us is Dr. Maria Rica Malyari. She's the head of the hair unit in the Dermatology Center of the St. Luke's Medical Center in Quezon City and a fellow of the Philippine Dermatological Society. I'll start the conversation first with Dr. Claudine. So, when it comes to our hair, syempre nowadays, we have a lot of stressful events that have been happening lately. One of the side effects maybe of this is hair loss due to stress. Could you talk more about this, please?
Yes, so hair loss due to stress is called telogen effluvium. So what happens is it usually presents as hair shedding because we usually have hairs grow and then they fall out. So that's normal. But when you have telogen effluvium, your hairs, when they shed, it's more than 100, more than 150 hairs per day. A lot of things can actually cause this. One is, of course, severe emotional stress. But apart from that, any form of infection, thyroid disorders, nutritional deficiency, lupus can also cause this. So there are a lot of causes of telogen effluvium. And from the point of insult, meaning from when the stressful or traumatic event happens, to the time the hair starts shedding, that's usually within 2 to 3 months from the traumatic event.
Dr. Rica, pag-usapan naman natin ang pattern baldness. So this is a little bit different from the stress-induced hair loss. Could you talk more about this naman?
There are different causes of hair loss really, and there's a scarring type, the one that's permanent, where the hair follicles are destroyed, and there's the non-scarring type where the hair can grow back. One of the non-scarring type is your pattern hair loss. What happens in pattern hair loss, or what you call common baldness, nakakalbo, is the hair follicle becomes smaller and smaller for every hair cycle. There's a normal hair cycle, there's a growing phase, and then the hair follicle dies, and then it sits there and waits for a new hair to grow from the same root. So the new hair that grows, that's supposed to push the dead hair, should grow to the same thickness and length. But sometimes because of the genes, inheritance, and the presence of testosterone in our system, the testosterone is converted to DHT by a certain enzyme, 5-alpha reductase. And this, when the DHT levels on the scalp increases, the hair follicle becomes smaller and smaller.
Let's touch on treatment a little bit because, you know, there are a lot of treatments out there. It's a really big industry when it comes to trying to prevent or slow down hair loss. But let's talk about effectivity. How effective is this? Is it really possible to stop this genetic predisposition to baldness?
Yes, there are lots of products in the market, the internet. When you search in Davao, and then when you go to the supermarkets, the grocery, drugstore, it will sell a lot of things that's supposed to make your hair grow, even the shampoos and conditioners that's supposed to help with hair growth. Actually, for males, there's only 2 that's approved by the FDA to be effective for pattern hair loss, and it's minoxidil and finasteride. But for me, actually, the patient, the one who's experiencing hair loss, should first seek treatment with the dermatologist from our society to check if it's really pattern hair loss, because there could be an underlying medical problem. It might not be pattern hair loss really. So seek consult with the dermatologist first before getting these products.
Now, I'd like to talk about contact dermatitis, specifically those yung masyadong maraming nilalagay na products, the use of hair dyes always, those who color their hair. Dr. Claudine, could you talk more about this? What are some of the symptoms that the person may feel that their hair and their scalp is already being affected with all the products that they use?
So the most common cause of allergic contact dermatitis is from hair dyes is an ingredient called paraphenylenediamine. So what are the symptoms? What happens is after they place the hair dye, the patients may experience either itching, burning sensation. They may also get a little bit of dryness or scaling on this area. And sometimes the inflammation may be so severe that they can get really puffy, the entire scalp, and even the rest of the face.
In connection with that, is dandruff connected in some way to that? Or could you talk more about dandruff naman, Dr. Claudine?
Right. So dandruff is not really connected to contact dermatitis, to hair dyes, even if it also presents with some dryness or scaling of the scalp. No? What happens in dandruff? Dandruff is caused by our skin's reaction to a yeast that's present in our normal flora. And it may be triggered by a change in humidity or a change in the temperature. So usually our patients with seborrheic dermatitis, this is like the scientific name or the medical term for dandruff. It usually happens during the colder months of the year, and they present with itching on certain parts of the scalp with some dry patches. And you can also have this on areas of the face. So for example, the eyebrows, the in between the eyebrow area, the sides of the nose, even the upper cheeks. You can have this on the ears. On the body, you can have it on the upper chest and upper back.
We'll talk more about ways to restore the look and feel of our hair later on in the show. But coming up, our nails and what they might be telling us. So stay with us. You're watching Med Talk Health Talk.
SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement, gama sa Davao para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement, ato ni bay. SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement, gama sa Davao para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement, ato ni bay.
I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and welcome back to Med Talk Health Talk. If you take a closer look at your nails, they might be giving you clues about your overall health. So let's talk about what signs your nails may give and the do's and don'ts of caring for them. So much like our hair, we often take our nails for granted. We can trim it, color it. But are there underlying symptoms that they can reveal? Dr. Rica, when it comes to our nails, are they made of the same material as our hair? What's the connection between the two?
Actually, the hair and nails are made out of keratin, so it's very thick. The nails are there to protect the skin because a lot of the fingernails and on the fingers and the toes, there are a lot of nerve endings, and the nails are there to protect it. That's why when, in certain times when you hit your toe or your finger, it's so painful because there are nerve endings there. So the nails are there to protect your fingers and the toes. And sometimes when you get problems with, like, if you go on a diet, you lose your hair, and you find changes also in your nails that show that there's some deficiency in your body, like vitamins or mineral deficiency.
When it comes to vitamin deficiency or other systems in the body, how can they show up in the nails? What will our nails look like kapag, let's say, may problema tayo with our circulation, with our heart?
Sometimes when you have first biotin deficiency, the nails become brittle. So if they're soft, the tips are a little bit broken off easily. when you have your iron deficiency, it becomes spoon shaped. The curvature is not there anymore. It becomes flattened. And there are times also when you have the telogen effluvium that was mentioned by Dr. Claudine earlier, where you shed your hair. Sometimes the nails also develop lines. On the particular time that you develop the hair fall, when the stress was induced, the stressful event like getting sick with COVID, hair falls, and then the nails also develop a line. You find a line there under your nail, a transverse line, that will actually coincide with the time that you had COVID. So they're more or less related.
Now, Dr. Claudine, when it comes to our nails, of course, we want to make sure that there are no infections here, nothing of that sort. But when it comes to fungal nail infections, could you talk more about this? And is this an easy condition to treat?
So fungal nail infection is also known as onychomycosis. And this usually arises in patients who are immunodeficient, and particularly in the elderly and patients who also are experiencing some states of immunodeficiency. So what happens is the nails will look roughened, and you will see like some scaling or some debris underneath the nails. They do not grow as well as a normal nail or a healthy nail would look like. They usually arise on the toenails first, and you may have it on the fingernails afterwards.
Now, a common habit that might be causing damage is nail biting, because about half of the kids and teens bite their nails, and many carry them over to adulthood as well. Dr. Claudine, why do some people nail bite, and how does it affect our nails?
Yes. So nail biting may be a cause of secondary to emotional or mental stress. So, it's important to recognize this, as these stresses need to be addressed. Now, when we do nail biting, then we are more prone, or we have a greater risk for infection, because when we bite the nails, it's not impossible that you can also cause a break in the skin. And when this happens, then you give a chance for the microorganisms to come in, and they can cause an infection.
What's a good way for nail biters to stop the nail biting behavior?
One of the more important things to do is to recognize that you have it. And the easier, I would say like practical things to do would be, of course, like you can cover the nails, you try to keep it short. You can even, there are things that you can already apply on the nail to make it not taste good or have like some bitter taste, so you end up not doing it. And of course, to address what is causing it, you have to, consult with a psychiatrist to see if this can be addressed. It's also, they can teach you how to do like behavioral modification for it as well.
Now, Doc Rica, you mentioned earlier about the hematoma on the nail because of trauma. And since we're talking about nail dystrophy, certain things, let's talk about that. Especially pag sa paa, sa toenails, makikita yan sa mga mahilig sa sports, or ito yung tinatawag na patay na kuko. But aside from that trauma, is ill-fitting shoes a possible cause for this type of condition?
Yes, sometimes nail dystrophy or color changes in your nails can be due to ill-fitted shoes. But you have to address this also, because the discoloration on the underneath your nail can be another thing rather than a hematoma. It could be a melanoma, like cancer of the mole. It's like the change can be similar to a hematoma, so it has to be evaluated by a dermatologist if it's really caused by that. Regarding the nail dystrophy from ill-fitted shoes, because sometimes it causes nail changes, like it looks like a patay na kuko. Actually, it's not patay because it grows. But sometimes when you have this nail dystrophy, you can have a secondary fungal infection that will affect that certain toe. So it has to be addressed too.
Your nails say a lot about your health, so don't ignore any changes in it. So when we return, we'll take a closer look at ways we can keep them healthy and nourished. Your health is our mission here on MedTalk Health Talk. We'll be right back.
SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement. Gama sa Davao para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement. Ato ni Bay.
I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is Med Talk Health Talk, where caring is our calling. Hair and nails can tell you a lot about a person's appearance, but they also play a part in keeping us healthy as well as safe. Now, this is why we need to take the time to give them the care that they need. So for both our hair and nails, we need to be extremely careful with the products we use and how we take care of them. So starting with our hair and how to take good care of our hair, Dr. Rica, what's a tried and tested way to keep our hair healthy and strong?
First, actually, you have to eat a balanced diet because there are some people who go on different kinds of diets nowadays and it may cause deficiencies. So it's better to eat a balanced diet. Probably eat a little of everything, like your vitamins and minerals are very important. Number two is using the right shampoo and conditioner for you because there are some who have curly hair. So you have to use a conditioner that has more conditioners and a shampoo that's good for curly hair. For oily hair, when you do procedures, like you have procedures done like your rebonding, perming, waving, straightening, you have to do it less frequently, as much as possible, 6 months, as far as 6 months apart before you do another one. If there's any problem, do not self-medicate. Actually, you have to consult with the PDS dermatologist to assess what's causing it because there might be another problem that has to be taken into consideration and treated.
When it comes to our hair, Dr. Rica, is there an ingredient that our viewers must absolutely avoid? A chemical, an ingredient that they should look out for, whether it be in hair dyes, shampoos, or conditioners?
Usually, as a shampoos, they always talk about the sodium lauryl sulfate because it's harsh. Shampoos are there kasi to remove the sebum and dirt on your scalp and hair. And sometimes when these shampoos that contain SLS, they strip your hair of the oils and the sebum that's supposed to moisturize the hair shaft. So nagkakaroon ng brittle hair if you use these shampoos with sodium lauryl sulfate. But there are cases that you need to use these shampoos when it's so dirty. So you can use that first and then later on avoid shampoos with SLS. And then with regards to the hair dyes, usually it's the paraphenylene, diamine, yung mga preservatives. Those are the things that causes your contact dermatitis. So as much as possible, avoid using products with those.
Dr. Claudine, when it comes to the term biopsy, normally our viewers would relate that to maybe a tumor or something really serious. But is this something that dermatologists use as well as determining diseases from the hair and from the nails? And how much information, how vital is a biopsy in this case?
Yes, so us dermatologists, we do a lot of biopsies because it really helps us clinch or confirm the diagnosis of our patients. And this is typically done as an outpatient procedure. So the patients don't have to be very anxious about this. It is, fast. It only takes a few minutes, 20 minutes probably at the most. And we are able to tell a lot from the biopsies. For the nails, then we can do like a small nail biopsy on certain areas, and we can also tell like which part of the nail is involved, what condition is causing the nail changes or the nail dystrophy.
Now, Dr. Rica, when it comes to our hair and the summertime ngayon, it's exposed to the sun a lot. What are some of the healthcare tips that you can give when UV rays are involved?
Yes, beach time. A lot of people, they spend time at the beach and it's long hours there exposed under the sun. So it's better to wear caps, hats, scarves, just to cover the hair because the hair can become brittle with too much heat. So better to wear those hats and apply conditioner just to protect the hair shaft so the hair will not become brittle.
And Dr. Claudine, do you have any final tips for our viewers when it comes to hair and nail care or skin care in general?
Of course, so skincare in general or hair and nail care, I think the most important is to eat a balanced meal or a balanced diet. As we, mentioned earlier, a lot of nutritional deficiencies can also show up in our hair and nails. The second is too little is not bad. So, taking care of our hair by just doing regular shampoos and conditioners is good. For our nails, try to refrain from using nail polish very often. And if we really have to do cosmetic procedures on our hair and nails, for example, bleaching or dyeing or perming. And for the nails, if we have to do nail polishes, try to space it out as far as you can. And of course, if there are any problems on the skin, hair, and nails, always seek consult with a board-certified PDS dermatologist.
With that, I'd like to thank dermatologists Dr. Claudine Silva and Dr. Rica Malyari for being with us today and being the experts when it comes to hair and nails and skin in general. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and we'll see you again next time.